Okay, so like most mobile games, are all about just grinding for points. But like those points ultimately don't really mean anything.
Yeah.
What if
Right.
what if those points could actually like get you a piece of a beachfront condo or something like that?
Hmm.
That's the crazy premise behind GoTapper. It's a tap to earn game where you can bid on like fractional ownership of real estate
Yeah.
using points that you earn just by playing the game.
It is fascinating to see this fusion of gaming and real estate.
Yeah.
It's a trend that's really gaining traction, and GoTapper seems to be at the forefront of this with its unique approach.
So we've got this in-depth article that breaks down the whole GoTapper ecosystem. And that's what we're going to be diving deep into today. We're
Cool.
going to be looking at, is it legit? Is it just for hardcore gamers? And like, how does tapping on a goat actually get you closer to owning property?
All right, so the core gameplay is deceptively simple.
Okay.
It's built on that familiar tap-to-own mechanic that you see in games like Cookie Clicker or Tap Titans.
Right. So you're literally tapping your screen to rack up points.
Yep.
But what makes GoTap different is what you can actually DO with those points. Right?
Exactly. In most games, those points are just for bragging rights. But in GoTapper, they're your ticket to bidding on fractional ownership of real-world properties.
Okay, so let's talk about the GTPR token. This isn't just some random in-game currency, is it?
No, not at all.
It seems like it's at the heart of this whole GoTapper system.
Absolutely. GTPR has 3 main uses, each carefully designed to keep the GoTapper economy humming.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
First up, you can use GTPR to buy boosters and other in-game perks.
Right, that's a pretty standard feature in mobile games. But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
By spending GTPR on these upgrades, players are actually contributing to the token's value.
Because it creates demand.
Right.
The more people who want GTPR to boost their game,
Exactly.
the more valuable it becomes.
Precisely. The developers have cleverly tied in-game purchases to the overall health of the GTPR token.
Okay, so that's a smart move. So what's the second use for GTPR?
This is where the real estate aspect comes in.
Okay.
You need GTPR to pay the entry fees for the real estate auctions, where you can bid on properties using your points.
So it's like a VIP club.
Yeah.
You need GTPR to get into these high-stakes auctions where the real action is happening.
Exactly. It ensures that only serious players, those who believe in the GoTapper ecosystem, are participating in these auctions.
Okay, so we've got boosters and auction entry fees.
Yep.
What is the third use case for GTPR?
Processing fees when you win an auction.
Okay.
You will receive an NFT that represents your fractional ownership of the property.
Right.
To receive that NFT, you need to pay a small processing fee in GTPR.
NFTs now, for folks who might not be super familiar with all the crypto lingo,
Yeah.
can you just break down what an NFT is in this context?
Sure, think of it like a digital deed that proves you own a piece of something, in this case, a fraction of a real estate property.
So it's like having a digital certificate that says you own like 0.05% of that skyscraper in Dubai or something like that.
Exactly, and because it's an NFT, it can be traded or sold just like any other digital asset.
Okay, so my brain is buzzing a little bit. I think I'm following along. So we've got the game where you're tapping to earn points. You need GTPR to enter the auctions and potentially win a fractional ownership NFT,
You got it.
which is basically like a digital deed to a piece of property.
And what's especially clever is how they've designed the system to make GTPR more valuable over time.
Ah, yes. The article mentioned something about scarcity and burn mechanisms.
Right. GoTapper uses these mechanisms to decrease the supply of GTPR.
Okay.
Think of it like taking dollar bills out of circulation.
Right.
If there are fewer dollars available, the remaining ones become more valuable.
Right.
Right.
So the more people play the game, buy boosters and pay those processing fees.
Yes.
The more GTPR gets burned,
Uh-huh.
making the remaining tokens more valuable.
Mm-hmm. Precisely, this benefits everyone who holds the token. It incentivizes holding on to your GTPR, as it might appreciate in value over time.
Okay, so let's talk about this GoTrop auction. It sounds like the main event where you actually have a chance to win a piece of property.
It is, picture a virtual auction room filled with other GoTapper players, all vying for a piece of, say, a beachfront condo in Miami.
All right, I'm picturing it. What are the steps involved in participating?
First, you need to make sure you've earned enough points by playing the game, and of course, you need to hold enough GTPR to cover the entry fee and any potential bids you gotta pay to play, right?
Makes sense. So once you're in the auction, how does the bidding work?
You use your earned points to bid against other players.
Okay.
It's a live bidding war, just like a traditional auction, but it all happens digitally.
And whoever bids the most points wins a share of the property.
Exactly. But remember, you're not buying the whole property, just a fraction of it.
Right.
The size of your share depends on how many points you bid and the total number of points bid by everyone else.
So if I bid a ton of points and no one else does, I could theoretically end up owning a decent chunk of that property.
Theoretically, yes. But in reality, there are likely to be a lot of players competing for those attractive properties. High demand, high competition.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I win a bid and I'm officially a fractional owner. What can I actually DO with that ownership?
That's where the real world value comes in. You have a few different options. The first option is to hold on to it.
Okay, so just sit tight and see what happens.
Exactly. As the value of the underlying property goes up, so does the value of your NFT. It's like investing in traditional real estate, but without all the hassle of actually owning and managing the property.
So like buy low, sell high, the classic strategy. Got it. What's option number 2?
You can sell it on a secondary market. Think of it like selling rare items you find in a game. You can sell your fractional ownership NFT to other players or investors who are willing to pay more than what you paid.
So it's kind of like a stock market, but for virtual real estate.
In a way, yes, there are platforms specifically designed for trading NFTs, and the value of your NFT can fluctuate based on market demand.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And what about option number 3?
This one gets a bit more complex, but it has the potential for big rewards. You can use your fractional ownership NFT as collateral for crypto loans.
Wait, what? Explain this like I'm 5.
Imagine you go to a bank and say, "Hey, I own a piece of this building. Can I borrow some money against it?"
And the bank says, sure, but if you don't pay us back, we're taking your piece of the building.
Exactly. It's the same concept in the crypto world, but instead of a bank, you're dealing with decentralized finance platforms, also known as DeFi.
So I can use my virtual property to secure a real loan in the crypto world.
That's right. And those loans can be used for all sorts of things, like investing in other crypto assets or even cashing out into real-world currency. It opens up a lot of possibilities.
This is starting to sound like a whole new financial system built on goats and tapping. But seriously, this is mind-blowing stuff.
It's definitely innovative. And while it's important to be aware of the risks, the potential for earning real-world value through gaming is incredibly exciting.
Okay, so we've covered the gameplay, the GTPR token, the auctions, and what you can do with those NFTs.
Yeah.
But how does Goat Tapper itself make money? Why should our listeners care about that?
That's a crucial question, after all. We want to make sure this whole ecosystem is sustainable, right? We don't want to be tapping goats for nothing.
Exactly. So how does Goat Tapper generate revenue?
They've got a multi-pronged approach. First, they make money from those in-game purchases we talked about earlier, the boosters and perks.
So the more people get hooked on the game and want to level up quickly, the more money Goat Tapper makes.
Right. It's a win-win. Players get to enhance their gaming experience, and Goat Tapper generates revenue to keep the platform running.
Okay, so in-game purchases are one stream. What else?
They also collect fees from the Goat Drop auctions, both for entry and for processing the NFT transfers when someone wins a bid.
So every time someone participates in an auction, Goat Tapper takes a cut. That makes sense. Any other revenue streams?
They've also been strategic about forming partnerships with real estate developers and other companies.
Okay.
These partnerships can bring in additional revenue through sponsorships and collaborations.
So they're not just relying on gamers to keep the lights on. They've got multiple ways to generate revenue, which is a good sign.
Exactly. It speaks to the long-term health of the platform. A sustainable business model means Goat Tapper is more likely to be around for the long haul, which is important for anyone investing in the ecosystem.
Okay, we've established that Goat Tapper has a solid plan for making money. But what about the community? Is this just a bunch of anonymous gamers tapping away in isolation, or is there a sense of, community?
That's another one of Goat Tapper's strengths. They've really emphasized building a strong and engaged community. Remember those referral programs and social media challenges mentioned in the article?
Right. The referral program encourages players to bring their friends into the game, which helps to grow the community organically. And those social media challenges like the Goat Drop Challenge foster a sense of shared experience and friendly competition.
Yeah.
It seems like they've really tapped into the social aspect of gaming.
Exactly. It's not just about earning money. It's about being part of a community of like-minded individuals who are interested in this new way of investing. And that community aspect is crucial for a project like this.
Why is that? How does a strong community benefit the overall platform?
Think about it this way. A strong community means more demand for the NFTs, which could increase their value.
I see more people playing the game.
Yeah.
More people bidding on properties.
Yeah.
More value for everyone involved. It's a virtuous cycle.
Precisely. And a strong community also creates a network of support and information sharing, which is invaluable for new players just starting out.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the gameplay, the GTPR token, the auctions, the NFTs, their revenue model, and even the community aspect. But there's one big elephant in the room that we haven't addressed yet.
You're talking about compliance and legality, right?
Bingo. The crypto world can be a bit of Wild West, and there are definitely a lot of scams and questionable projects out there.
For sure.
The legitimate concern for anyone considering getting involved.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to choose projects that prioritize compliance and transparency, especially in such a dynamic and evolving landscape.
And from what I'm reading, GoTapper seems to be doing things by the book. They're structured to avoid being classified as a security, which I understand is a big deal in the eyes of the SEC.
That's a key distinction. It means they're not subject to the same regulations as traditional securities, which gives them more flexibility and potentially less regulatory burden.
They also mentioned partnerships with established real estate developers, which adds a layer of legitimacy to the whole operation.
Right. It shows they're not just some fly-by-night operation. They're working with reputable partners in the real estate industry. That kind of validation goes a long way.
And they're compliant with all the relevant regulations, which gives me, as a potential investor, a lot more confidence knowing